Hello, welcome to the literary and jury charge portion of the 80s class. Today we're going to start out with some Latin and Spanish words, and I'm going to give you the words first and then I will give you your paragraph. Okay, ready? We've got prima facie, stare decisis, sui generis, and incommunicado. Incommunicado. Okay, here's your paragraph. Prima facie means at first view or at first glance. Prima facie evidence is sufficient to prove a fact or establish a fact unless evidence to the contrary is presented. Stare decisis is the decision of the court to let a precedent stand as a guideline when a previous decision controls the decision. In similar cases, stare decisis is the term applied. Sui generis means of its own kind or in a class by itself. To be sui generis is to be unique. And then the last one is incommunicado. Incommunicado means to isolate or cut off. When a prisoner is held incommunicado, all communication with others is terminated. Okay, I have a short story for you. This is called Let Go of the Idea that gentle, relaxed people can't be super achievers. Okay, here we go. One of the major reasons so many of us remain hurried, frightened, and competitive and continue to live life as if it were one giant emergency is our fear that if we were to become more peaceful and loving, we would suddenly stop achieving our goals. We would become lazy and apathetic. You can put this fear to rest by realizing that the opposite is actually true. Fearful, frantic thinking takes an enormous amount of energy and drains the creativity and motivation from our lives. When you are fearful and frantic, you literally immobilize yourself from your greatest potential, not to mention enjoyment. Any success that you do have is despite your fear, not because of it. I have had the good fortune to surround myself with some very relaxed, peaceful, and loving people. Some of these people are best-selling authors, loving parents, counselors, computer experts, and chief executive officers. All of them are fulfilled in what they do and are very proficient at their given skills. I have learned the important lesson. When you have what you want, inner peace, you are less distracted by your wants, needs, desires, and concerns. It's thus easier to concentrate, focus, achieve your goals, and to give back to others. Okay, I have some jury charge for you. The subject is common carrier. You're going to hear defendant, which is DEFT. Responsible, SPONL. Transportation, I write that as TRANSPORTATION. INGS. Burden of proof, you can either write BURP, B-U-R-P, or B, final R-P, leave out the U. And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that's what we're going to start off with, is going to be written L, long A, J, S. Again, don't feel like you have to, write those out now. If you don't know them, you can write them down and then practice them later. Okay, here we go. Ready? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, a common carrier is one who undertakes for hire to transport from place to place the goods or persons of those who choose to employ him. The defendant, in taking and transporting the machine here in question, was a common carrier for hire. Generally, a common carrier of goods ensures the safe transportation of the goods committed to him for that purpose, and he is responsible for all damages to the same while in transit. There are, however, certain exceptions to this rule. One of these exceptions, if the loss or damage arose solely from the fault of the shipper himself, that is, if the goods or freight transported is improperly packed or improperly loaded by the shipper, and this fact is not apparent or known to the carrier, and the carrier is not at fault himself in causing the damage, then the carrier is not liable for the loss or damage resulting from such improper loading by the shipper. It cannot be said, however, that the carrier must have known that the machine was not, in fact, safely loaded. The shipper usually knows better than the carrier the manner in which the goods have been packed or loaded, and the manner in which they should be packed or loaded. And even though the carrier may have knowledge of some defect in the packing or loading, still, if it is not apparent to the ordinary observation of the carrier that the goods cannot be safely carried in the condition in which they are presented, the carrier should not be held to take the chances of damage or injury from such improper packing or loading. The burden of proof rests upon the defendant to prove by the preponderance of the evidence that the loss or damage arose solely from the improper loading by the defendant. Okay, I've got some congressional record for you. And this is called Men Only Clubs. That's the topic. Men Only Clubs. Ready? Mr. Gable, Mr. President, I thank the senator from Iowa. I wholeheartedly agree on his last point. Out of the greatest losses to the United States is that women have not been active enough in our economy. Business Week magazine recently conducted a study. Out of a total of 5,000 top paid individuals in big business in this country were women. Of those 22 women, 15 were in positions of responsibility because they were the wife or daughter of the chairman of the board. Doesn't it appear that women have never been given a chance? Until just recently, some of the best Eastern schools were classified as men-only colleges. This is ridiculous. Were they implying that women are less intelligent than their male counterparts? We should not only encourage women to seek an equal chance, we should enable them to get an equal chance. Women are beginning to get into the top law schools and the top medical schools, but it is a slow process. We, as members of Congress, should certainly do our best to discourage exclusive memberships in clubs for men only. If women are excluded, this is a form of social and economic discrimination. The problem we are faced with is evaluating the position of Paul Lang Taylor, who has adapted a posture of defense for the right to all male social clubs, which exclude women. I wonder if Mr. Taylor understands the discrimination that is involved in this issue. A social club is organized to conduct business, social, and community activities. If women are excluded, Mr. Taylor is inferring that they have no business conducting these activities in conjunction with their male counterparts. I do not agree with Mr. Taylor's point of view, and I would like him to present to this committee in writing a justification of his position. Okay, I have an article here from Jennifer Hudson. It's called "The Place I Call Home." And if we don't get through all of it, then we will finish it in the next class. Ready? And I'm going to read the top title here before we start the story. It says, "No matter where her amazing career takes her, actress and singer Jennifer Hudson will never forget where she came from." Okay, here we go. "Earlier this year, I was in a church to film a movie, a historic church in Harlem with magnificent stained glass windows and rows of pews with choir stalls and stacks of Bibles. Even though my own church was halfway across the country, I felt right at home. Church was at the center of my life growing up. My family went to a Baptist church on the south side of Chicago, and I think we spent more time there than at our own house. Monday nights, we had Bible study. Tuesday nights were rehearsals for the adult choir. Wednesday nights, the youth choir rehearsed. I sang in both choirs. Saturdays, my mother folded and stapled bulletins. Sundays, we were at both morning and evening services. We were always there. And more important, our family church or church family was always there with us, helping us stay close to God in good times and bad. The movie was called Black Nativity, based on the Langston Hughes play. I had the part of a single mother about to be evicted from her Baltimore home. She's beaten down by worries, especially about her teenage son. She's had a falling out with her parents and hasn't been back to New York City, where her dad is a preacher, in years. Still, she sends her son up there to live with them, to be in a safe place away from her problems. That's why we were here filming. I know what it's like to pray for my child. My son, David Jr., named for his father, has been incredibly blessed in his 4 years. but I think any mother, no matter how old her kids are, understands what it's like to have hopes and dreams and prayers for them. Okay, there is more, but I'm going to stop here because we have concluded our literary and jury charge class. So this concludes the 80 literary and jury charge selection. Have a great day.